Do we have some opening remarks, please? The oath of office for Jenny Groot-Begnad.
Ma'am, how about we do a quick roll call?
Oh, roll call? Sounds good. See, after 15 years, I still don't know that. Roll
Ms.
call, please.
Tornatore?
You here.
Mr. Lilly?
Yep.
Ms. Groot? Here. Mr. Delange?
Here.
We have our new alternate, Mr. Guy Desai, who is excused. He is listening in hopefully on YouTube right now. And we have Mr. Horian, who is also excused.
Okay, thank you very much. You have opening remarks and the oath of office for Jenny.
Okay, so typically we would step down here. Maybe we do it for city council anyhow. Morning. So, is this an okay place, Stuart? I don't know how the camera is positioned.
It's fine, yeah, right there in front of the seal and the flags, that's perfect.
All right. All right, so if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jenny Groot-Begnad,
I, Jenny Groot-Begnad,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution
and the government of the United States and the state of Florida
and the government of the United States and the state of Florida
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same,
and that I will in all respects
and that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances
observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
of the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Planning and Zoning Board member for the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
of a Planning and Zoning Board member of the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I'm now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Now we're up to the nomination of the chair and the vice chair. Do I hear any nominations?
Okay, so.
Can I nominate?
You can nominate.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Both at the same time or just one at a time?
It's up to you how you want to.
Okay. After 15 years of being the chair, I think it's time for me to step aside and give other people the opportunity to do this. I'm very much in love with Daytona Beach Shores. I've been living here 17 years. I've been chair for 15 years, chair 13, lucky number 13, and 2 years vice chair. So I would like to nominate the chair as Rick Delange for president, and Jenny Groot-Begnad as second chair. And I would like to still stay on the planning board, but I think it's time. Thank you.
I second both of those.
Roll call, please, Jenny.
Well,
Or
are there any other nominations?
are there any- yeah, right.
There's only 4 of us, you know.
Yeah. Are there any other nominations?
No? Okay.
Being none, we close the nomination and take a vote, please.
Can I just do an all in favor?
You should do it individually.
Okay. Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Let me get my motion on here. Mr. Lilly, yes. Ms. Tornatore?
Yes?
Ms. Groot?
Yes.
Mr. Delange?
Yes.
Now, are we going to get the new president to continue the meeting?
Yes, he will now move over.
Very
It's the chair. You're not, I'm sorry, you're not the president, but you're a chair.
Chair.
Okay. You don't put that pressure on me.
I'm sitting next to you, be careful.
Mr. Lilly.
Mr. President.
No. Oh, look, somebody even put this for me. Thank you. Thank you. All righty.
And we're here on the minutes.
So now, review the minutes from the planning and zoning minutes, August 8th, 2022.
I hear a motion.
Yep. Do I hear a motion for passing those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Any second?
Second.
Good here.
Chairs.
Okay, I want you to feel.
Minutes have been approved?
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
All righty. For the action items, ordinance 2022-20, amendment to establish the minimum requirement off-street parking spaces for interior storage facility. Noel? And should we,
Good morning. Yes, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Noelle Eaton. I am the new city planner here in Daytona Beach Shores, and just about a month in, and things are hot and heavy, so I'm excited to keep reviewing applications and presenting information to you guys. And please, if you have any questions at any time ever, please let me know. Slides. Good morning, Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance number 2022-20. This is a staff administrative amendment to amend the city's land development code, section 14-48.6, titled Off-Street Parking and Loading, to establish the minimum required off-street parking spaces for the interior storage facility use. Some background information. In 2012, the City Council passed Ordinance 2012-08, which established and created the use of interior storage facility. This created it as a special exception, so it established criteria related to the special exception, specifically related to site development. So this could include things like minimum site requirements, standards related to landscaping, parking, signage, lighting, and then also day-to-day operational standards as well. At that time, in 2012, the existing calculation within the Land Development Code for wholesale, retail, and commercial storage was an adequate parking calculation. As time changes and new uses kind of become more prevalent, now we see an amendment to the Land Development Code. This standard for wholesale, retail, and commercial storage is 1 space per employee plus 1 space per 1,500 square feet devoted to wholesale, retail, and commercial storage. I like to think of this as like Sherwin-Williams. So they have a retail component, and then they also have storage components. So you kind of take 2 calculations when working with a business or use of that nature. This LDC standard doesn't reflect the current standards from the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is where parking, traffic counts are all generated for the US. This standard doesn't reflect the interior storage facility, which is commonly known as mini warehouse. You'll see that a few times throughout this presentation. Planning staff has received 3 different applications related to the property at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. And the property owner is seeking to expand an existing interior storage facility use that currently exists there onto this adjacent property. The proposed expansion of the interior storage facility could not occur as proposed today without this text amendment amending the parking calculations. So in your packet, Newkirk Engineering provided a detailed parking generation report, which provides the analysis of the ITE manual and the current generation rates for that mini warehouse interior storage facility. So this generation states that at peak weekday hours, the most you could get is 0.17 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of floor area. So to simple math, in order to get one parking space, you have to multiply by 6, basically. And that leads to our proposed amendment. So again, the existing standard that we use is that one parking space per employee plus the 1,500 square feet, plus one space per 1,500 square feet devoted to the storage area. The example that I like to give on both slides here is for a building that's 20,000 square feet, let's say all devoted to storage. You divide that by the 1,500 current standard and you get 13.33. Round up, that's 14 parking spaces just based on the square foot, plus one per your employees that you have. Typically, these businesses don't see many employees. But the proposed regulation is going to multiply that by that 6 number. So, I'm sorry, this is wrong up here. I copied and pasted.
Yes. We noticed. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. This was a last minute. Let's see if I have it somewhere else. The proposed regulation is going to be one space per 6,000 square feet. So it's that multiplied by 6, and I'm sorry, it is not correct in your packet. It's correct in your packets, it's not correct on the presentation.
So you're just matching the IPE.
Correct. It is taking the exact, yes, the multiplication from the ITE manual, which is the 0.17 times by 6 will get you one parking space. So we're taking it based on the square footage. So for every 6,000 square feet of floor area, you're required that one parking space. So the same example, and I know it's not on here, but if you take that same 20,000 square foot building and you divide by 6,000, you're gonna get 3.33 spaces, which is 4 parking spaces. The per employee is not calculated into this. I know it says it on the screen again, my apologies.
It's okay.
But the employee is, we haven't used that in the proposed regulations per employee, just because these facilities don't see the staff increase or the daily spaces. The public notice requirements have been met, and staff is recommending approval as presented and in your staff reports more clearly of ordinance number 2022-20. And myself is available for questions, as well as we do have the applicant of the other applications. This is an administrative amendment, but they are here as well if you do have any questions for either of us. Thank you.
Any question?
You have no questions.
So just for clarification purpose.
Yes.
The existing regulation would require 13.33 parking space, and you're recommending proposed regulation from 13 to 4.
I'm sorry, it's gonna be based on the square footage. So today is 1 per 1,500 square feet. The proposed is gonna be 1 per 6,000. The example is really just a 20,000 square foot building. The one that's being proposed is larger than that, so the parking calculation will be based on 1 per 6,000 square feet.
So can you tell us what the current parking space is now and what the proposed is going to be for this specific?
Let me see, I do have it in my report. So the challenge probably with this specific property is that they're using a combination of the parking for that development that exists there today. So there's a provision within the Land Development Code that you can use different peak hours. So giving you a specific number on this property probably isn't fully encompassing of this amendment, just because they're using a few different components of the LDC to get their parking generation. But this amendment will change for every interior storage facility use that we see in the future. So regardless of this property or the combination that they're using for their parking calculation, from here on out, if approved, every interior storage facility would use that 1 per 6,000. So let me see.
Understood. Yet, my question is, being that it's shared with Cow Licks and Sherwin-Williams, I was just concerned how many parking spaces you're proposing for that one area.
I've got it here, let's see.
Mr. Chair, I can kind of add that. So the example, this is Stuart Cruz, Community Service Director. So the example that Noel Eaton gave was for a 20,000 square foot building, mini storage, mini warehouse storage facility. The actual facility that's being proposed, and that's not the subject of this particular application, is about 40,000 square feet, so basically double. So in that case, the current code would require about 6, maybe 7 the proposal, if adopted by the city, would require about 6 or 7 parking spaces, whereas the existing regulations would require, I believe, about 26. And I think if any of you have ever driven by any storage facility anywhere in the United States, you probably won't see 26 people there on the best day ever. And that's the reason why we're modernizing and updating the requirements. It's not specifically for this application that you'll be hearing about after this, but it is an update that we were required to do because we want to advance with the modern times. The standard that we used when we drafted the ordinance in 2012 was a general standard for all different types of storage, and it wasn't designed specifically for mini warehouse storage, and that's the reason why we're doing this.
Thank you.
I can give you a number that 53 spaces are proposed. So that's gonna exceed the requirement for just the storage, but it again encompasses the existing parking and generation rates.
And that includes the existing parking spaces right now.
Correct.
And that would be for the entire complex.
Correct, yes. And there's a reconfiguration as well going on between the parking spaces and the buildings and so forth.
Any questions?
Any questions for me?
I have one more, I'm sorry. Currently, in the storage unit center that I use, there's parking spaces, and they seem to have put RVs and boats in those parking spaces. Do we have any provision in this that would not allow those existing proposed parking spaces to be utilized for boats or RVs to park in there and rent them out? Like the place that I have in South Daytona Beach, that's what they're doing. And I'm just concerned that the 53, there might turn out to be 20 because they might be renting those spaces out.
I think, yeah, Stuart can answer, and I know that they're jumping to answer too.
So, Mr. Chair, board members, so this particular amendment is not an amendment that converts a property or any property in Daytona Beach Shores to a commercial parking lot. Those types of parking amenities and opportunities that you're referring to are only permitted generally at commercial parking facilities in Daytona Beach Shores. If there is if there are extra parking spaces on a particular site, meaning that the demand for the uses that are on site, there's a difference, there's a surplus, if you want to call it that, then that particular property owner could apply to the board and to the city for a special exception to put overflow parking on that property for vehicles of a certain nature. The RVs and the boats and all that other stuff would not apply.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
Good question. Is there a question?
Oh, no,
Would you like to answer?
I'm happy to answer any questions. Stuart nailed it.
So staff is recommending approval of this particular ordinance. Board members.
All righty.
Well, I would move to recommend approval of ordinance 2022-20 as presented.
Any second?
Second?
All righty. Sherry, if you could do roll call?
Ms. Burt? Yes. Ms. Tornatori?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yeah.
Mr. Jalal?
Yes. All righty. So now, we'll move on to ordinance 2022-21, Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Amendment, CPA 12022-031, partial 532200-04-0170. The address is 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. Noel?
Good morning, Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance number 2022-21. This is an applicant-initiated amendment to change the future land use designation of the vacant property located at, I'm gonna spell it, get this out, Volusia County Parcel ID 5322-00-04-0170, which is generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, from the medium-density residential land use to the tourist-oriented commercial land use. Some background, the property owner is 91 Oneida LLC, which is All Aboard Storage, and Andy Clark, who's here today. The property size is approximately 0.31 acres, or roughly 13,503 square feet. Again, is located generally at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. You can see on your screen, it is a separate vacant parcel, but it is within that existing complex. I think it's also important to note that it is in that existing complex. It has some challenges related to this property, which include access to a public roadway. You can see there's a fence along that backside. Generally, the flow of traffic is going to go to South Atlantic Avenue. This amendment seeks to really incorporate it into that rest of that shopping area, which is the Sherwin-Williams, Calix, and now All Aboard Storage. The current land use is the medium-density residential, which allows for 12.1 to 35 residential units per acre. The property is currently vacant, as you can see, and has been for over 30 years based on aerial photos. The proposed land use is that tourist-oriented commercial, which allows for 1.4 floor area ratio, which is an FAR. It's a calculation based on the square footage of the property in relationship to the allowable gross floor area that property can sustain at a maximum theoretical output. The proposed use is that interior storage facility, which is existing at 2616, and through some configuration, plans to expand to this property as well. This is another location map. You can see, again, it's really within that 2616 shopping area. I don't want to really say plaza. It's not a shopping plaza. There's just businesses that are within that specific space and square on the map. To the west is the Sea Havens Townhome subdivision, and then to the north there is Beachcomber Park and parking. This is a street view / parking lot view, and I kind of went into the parking lot to show that it's really tucked in behind that Sherwin-Williams and Calix today. Again, you can see that fence along the backside that really cuts it off from the townhome development to the west. This is the impact summary analysis that is provided in detail in your staff report. I'll kind of just highlight some of the major changes. There is a decrease in residential units, specifically 10.85. So the new land use does not allow residential units at all, which then basically decreases your population and your public student count as well. So you have a decrease in those. And then you have an increase of 2.62.9 gallons per day of potable water usage. And I've included, I just got it last week, I've included, yes, the email from the city of Daytona Beach stating that they have capacity for that maximum. This analysis is the absolute maximum potential that the land use itself could see, not specifically related to the interior storage facility, which they have done further analysis on that specific use. But for purposes of the future land use, we have to look at the maximum practical. There is a decrease in sanitary sewer, so there isn't an email for acceptance from the city of Port Orange because it is a decrease. And then you'll see there is an increase in AM and PM peak trip hours for this specific land use, which is an increase of 121.66 AM trips and 85.86 PM trips. And in your report, there is the analysis provided from Newkirk Engineering for the trip generation of the specific use of interior storage facility, which does have an increase of 28 trips per day, which is 1 AM peak hour and 4 PM. So you can see there's a little bit of a differential in those numbers versus what they're actually doing. But again, for purposes of the amendment, we have to take the maximum extent. There is a slight increase in solid waste production, which is collected by Waste Pro. Thank you. The South Atlantic Avenue has based on the Volusia County 2021 allowable annual daily trips, South Atlantic Avenue there has the capacity to hold 32,400 trips, and they're currently operating at 13,100. So there's a substantial area to increase to an allowable level of service that we won't be hitting with this amendment. This is just a picture colors on the map, basically. It's the left side is the current land use, which is that medium density residential in tan or orange. And then the right is going to be the proposed future land use of the tourist-oriented commercial, changing it to that red and black pattern, again, consistent with the existing area there. All public notice requirements have been met for this ordinance, and staff is recommending approval of ordinance number 2022-21 as presented. And again, I'm here if you have any questions, and the applicant is also here. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Noel. Is there any question from the board?
No questions.
I have a question. You did state all public notice requirement has been met. That means that a sign was posted on the property indicating this meeting, indicating the change.
Correct. There has been a sign post, actually 2 signs posted on the property just for safekeeping. One is actually on the parcel, and then one is in front of the 2616, so we hope to, get everyone passing by. The abutting property owners were noticed of this meeting as well, and then there is an ad in the newspaper that's published twice, I believe, as well. So all those notices have been met.
And you have not received any letters from any of the homeowners that would be near the property?
I did have one call. It was very early on, and it was just an inquiry of what the applications are for. She just didn't want multifamily. So that was all the correspondence I've had with anyone.
Okay. And let it be known there was nobody in the audience. Should I point that out?
Yeah, I mean, you could make a call for audience comments and
Yeah.
then nobody will respond.
Alrighty, having said that, no further questions for Noel? Thank you, very nice presentation for your first. So we'll take a vote.
First, the applicant needs to be given the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, and I'm just available for questions, and I at least wanted to point out that Andy Clark here is the owner of All Aboard Storage, and you've seen him all around town. So if there's a specific question you have about how these facilities operate, even though these applications are not pertinent to the special exception itself, we're happy to answer it. So I just wanted to at least put that on the record that we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So if there's anything we can do to help you guys, just let us know.
Happy and changes. Changes are good.
They can.
They can be.
Already? So we're voting on the recommendation to approve ordinance 2022-21. Do we have a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Is there a
As
second?
presented.
Second that motion.
Alrighty. Sherry, can we take roll call?
Yes, sir. Ms. Tornatori?
Yes.
Ms. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Deloche?
Yes. Alrighty. And finally, we have a quasi-judicial hearing, and as a result of that hearing, it will be on ordinance 2022-22, application to amend zoning map RZ 120-22032, partial 5322-00-04-0170, the address 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. In opening the hearing, first of all, any ex parte communication by any of the members? Nope. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead with the staff presentation. Noel?
First, we need to have any witnesses sworn in, including staff and any members of the public that would speak on this matter,
Alrighty.
including the applicant.
We're-
The applicant's attorney doesn't need to be sworn in, just
We trust him.
Okay.
Put that in.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during this hearing today? Thank you.
Alrighty, so now we'll continue with the staff presentation. Noel?
Good morning, Noel Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance 2022-22, and this is the subsequent amendment from the last presentation. This is an amendment to change the zoning classification of that vacant property located at Volusia County parcel ID 5322-00-04-0170, generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, from RMF3, multifamily residential district, low density, to GCRD, general commercial redevelopment district. Again, some of the same property information. This is the same subject parcel. The owner is 91 Anita LLC, All Aboard Storage, Andy Clark. Property size of 0.31 acres. The current zoning is that RMF3, which is a multifamily residential low-density district. The entitlement today is multifamily dwellings, duplexes, and townhouses, similar to the Sea Havens property to the west. The proposed zoning is the GCRD, which is a general commercial redevelopment district, and the proposed entitlement is interior storage. There are other entitlements within the GCRD that are permitted, but as we know, this applicant is specifically seeking that interior storage facility use for the property. This is another location map just showing the parcel within that 2616 South Atlantic shopping area with Calix to the east, and then the Sea Havens townhome subdivision to the west. Again, a street view of the property showing it tucked back there behind the existing Sherwin-Williams and storage facility, and then Cowlitz as well on the left. This is that same impact summary analysis from the last presentation, just showing that this is the theoretical maximum potential increase for these different variables. The zoning district regulations, which include setbacks, landscaping requirements, buffer requirements, shrink those. They kind of shrink them in a little bit, so we typically won't see the maximum, and from further analysis in your staff report, based on the use, we won't see these maximums. It's just important to show that for this zoning classification, you have the corresponding land use, which allows for these theoretical maximums. This is a pretty picture showing colors changing on the map. It is on the left, the current zoning, which is that brown RMF3. Again, it looks like it's from the Sea Havens townhomes, just based on the rest of the area that kind of got incorporated into that RMF3 zoning. On the right is the proposed zoning of GCRD, which changes it to that dark red, again, consistent with the 2616 shopping center there. Again, all public notice requirements have been met for this ordinance, and staff is recommending approval of ordinance number 2022-22 as presented. And if you have any questions for me or the applicant, thank you.
Thank you, Noel. Alrighty, so we'll call for public input in favor. There's no one in the audience?
Aye.
Okay, we'll call for public input opposing the current amendment. And there's none. Does the board have any questions concerning?
No questions?
Unfortunately, I have one. I always have a question. One thing that came to mind, the current storage facility has how many units in it, and how many units will the new one have?
Hi, I'm Andy Clark. I'm the owner of All Aboard Storage. And, okay, so the existing, it used to be called Seahorse Storage. And there was about 100 storage units in their existing. They're all really small, though. They're like 5 foot by 5 foot, maybe some 5 by 10s, and that's the maximum size. And so the expansion that we want to do, which is, that's what attracted me to the property, even though, like Roseanne, I live just outside of Daytona Beach Shores and Daytona Beach, but I go by this, I'm like a mile away from the property. And anyway, all this vacant property in the back is what really, attracted me to the property. But anyway, so the new building in the back will have, let me think, probably about 250 more storage units. And we'll get the unit mix corrected. The family that developed this, storage facility, we're trying to do it from out of town, out of state actually, and it was, it's only like 50% occupied, and there's a big demand for storage right now, especially after the hurricane. A lot of people that need it. So anyway, to answer your question about 250, but they're going to be of larger size because that's what people need. The current unit mix is pretty funky, so we're trying to fix it and put our all aboard touch on it too, and make it better. So anyway, that's my.
And what is the timeline for the construction?
Well, probably not until, this probably won't happen until maybe 2024, unfortunately. I'd like to do it sooner, but All Aboard Storage is building 3 other big projects in Port Orange, west of Port Orange, west part of New Smyrna Beach, and west part of Ormond Beach. This is, our first storage facility here in Daytona Beach Shores. This is the only storage facility, as you may know, all the way from Ponce Inlet up to almost Ormond Beach on the beach side. So anyway, due to All Aboard, due to me running out of money, I'll have to make some more money in order to build this. But I'm excited about it. I think it's really needed in the community. There's a big demand. We've been there trying to get started on. We also want to fix up the existing, building. We already submitted to lower the sign, make a brand new sign out front, and got with Sherwin-Williams on that, and then re-landscape the front, and the parking lot needs to be, fixed up, and I got to redo the whole roof too of this building is in need of repair. But so we're going to spend money on the building too first, and then jump back and try to maximize the property and make it all nicer and everything. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit.
So just to confirm, so after the construction in 2024, the building combined is going to have 350 units combine with various sizes. Is it all gonna be air conditioned or?
Yes, it's all climate controlled. Yeah, that's because, yeah, so there won't be, this isn't like the, roll-up door type units. They're all kind of,
I can pull up the elevation.
oh, yeah, we got, this is like, that 3D concept of it. Like, this is the existing, storage and Sherwin-Williams, so it's behind it. And we're trying to make it look architecturally pleasing with, a lot of windows, so it kind of looks like an office building or maybe even residential building, because I'm trying to, make it blend in with the neighbors, and we'll make it match the front building with the colors and, other details, so it looks uniform, and we're gonna have sufficient buffering between us and the other neighbors. Like I say, I live here too, and lived here for my whole life, and so I want to, be a good neighbor and make it look good. And it's a low traffic generator, as we've said, so that's the plan for it there.
I got some questions. Ms. Clark, the pictures we got, your property goes almost to the edge of Sherwin-Williams. But that picture shows it goes all the way across the back of the property line.
He's
Yeah, I think-
purchasing it all.
It includes the grass
This way,
strip
this way.
over here.
Our picture only shows you going to the edge of that building.
Let me bring up.
I can
Okay.
clarify what I shouldn't have. The request itself is only to change that portion of the zoning and the future land use.
I am, he started to do his presentation about the building, I was going to ask questions.
Right, so the portion we're talking about back here has that multifamily type future land use plus the residential.
Right, I understand that.
So, but the project itself, which is coming back forward as a special exception, is going to include all of this redesign.
So he'll come back with some, gotcha, okay. I got sidetracked when you start talking. Let's ask those questions.
And then just I think to jump off of Andy there, where we were talking about the number of units, I was at a neighborhood meeting the other night where another facility in Ormond, and they're doing one that's about double this. And the question came up about, impacts. Well, the anecdotal answer from the developer was, well, it's about a handful of trips a day, and we have one bathroom. So, in terms of impacts of what's there now and what you can do versus what's going to be there, and the commercial benefit of just having those tax dollars, that beautiful building, it's a win-win there. So I at least wanted to mention that, because when people hear the number of units, it's not in relation of how these things function. So it's a very low generator, and it's very quiet. So the number may look a little scary, but it isn't.
Any other questions?
I don't know if this is the time to ask, and I know you build things very nice, Andy, but I have an issue with it being so nice that people are living in them. Okay, I have one situation that is behind Surfside. I don't know if you own that unit, behind the Surfside Bar. It's the units C and D, and everybody in Daytona Beach Shores, all of the building department has been there several times. They've built a wall inside the unit, and there's a man living there. Every time they go there, they get him out, and then he's living there again. The nicer you make the interior sometimes, it's promoting these people living in them. So I'm just asking, what is the reason for air conditioning and toilets inside the units? I know that we aren't discussing that now. I didn't know if this was the time, because I was afraid you were going to leave after this was.
This is Joey Posey again. Just to clarify, when I said one toilet, I'm talking about for the full facility.
Okay.
Not every unit, so.
But
And the building code will require that.
right, but this man keeps living there, and we keep kicking him out, and he keeps going back. I just wanted to bring that up at the end of the meeting, but I didn't want Andy to leave because I wanted your advice a little bit.
Okay, this is Andy Clark. Yeah, we don't allow people living in
Okay.
units. Yeah, we do. We have found that in the past, not not in the nicer demographic areas, but primarily it's in the, you know, lower income areas that we have properties. But we just stay there and tell them to move on. It is kind of hard. Sometimes people like to come visit their stuff and hang out in their unit, but they're not allowed to sleep in there, and they're not allowed to spend the night in there. You know, it is kind of a fine line, because we have had customers that, you know, just have all their belongings in there, but that, you know, but we don't allow people living in units. And so what we pride ourselves with at All Aboard is our customer service, our management, you know, because we're on top of things, and it's like even the people that were running it before, it's like the property needs All Aboard, I feel, to get there and oversee it correctly. And yes, our lease doesn't allow that. You can't store anything, you know, dangerous or anything either. So anyway, but this isn't Daytona Beach Shores you're talking about?
Yes,
Or
sir.
South Daytona?
Daytona Beach Shores, Surfside
Surf-
Bar. It's a building.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
down near Dunlawton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And,
There's a little bit of storage behind there, yeah. Yeah, see, that's not, the reason it's not on my radar is that I don't think of that as a storage facility like we would own. You know, we have the larger, you know, to have an on-site management, it needs to have that size and then we're there and we're running it and overseeing it and taking care of it, and, you know, it needs that personal touch and maintaining it and picking up any trash and
So follow, you also would have security cameras
Yeah.
that would be monitoring, and you have central security monitoring. So if any event of that nature, you can report it to the proper authorities.
Right. It's and my daughter is our like operations manager, and she has it all on her phone with regard to every property, every, you know, camera, and so yeah, we're a local family business, and we're into being active in the community and everything too. So we're looking forward to doing that too in the Shores more.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Any other questions? We'll go ahead and close the hearing. Ready? No more discussions? So we'll go ahead and seeking a motion to pass.
I move to approve ordinance 2022-22 as presented.
A second.
Sherry, if you can take roll call?
Ms. Groot,
Yes.
Ms. Tornatori,
Yes.
Mr. Delange,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly.
Yes.
All righty. First of all, welcome to the team, Noel.
Thank you, guys. I was just gonna, I think does it go back to the regular thing now?
If you close that down. Okay. It should pop up. Come on. Give it a second to catch up.
All righty.
Forward to him bringing the building in here so we can ask some questions about it.
All set?
Yep.
All right. Noel, can we ask you a question? Can you give us
Absolutely.
some of your background and where did you come from?
Yeah, Stuart was just saying, he's like, well, at the end, will you introduce me? I was like, at the end, I'll have already introduced myself by then. But my name is Noelle Eaton, and I am a city planner. I've been, I'm originally from.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am originally from Montana, and have kind of traveled around, went to school for environmental planning in Northern California. I was a building inspector in Texas, and then previously before this, I was a planner in Ormond. So I've had some local planning, but I've been here for about 3 years, and I'm loving the Shores already. It's a beautiful place to be and to work, and wonderful people to work with already. So I'm excited.
Well, great, welcome.
Thank you.
You just wanted to find out a little bit of your background, so thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you guys.
Alrighty, any board comments?
Mr. Chair, before you move on to the board member comments, can I just say something real quick?
Please.
You kind of stole my thunder, but.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. We are really, really blessed and happy to have Noelle here with us. She hit the ground running from day one. And unfortunately, there was a storm event that everyone's been talking about recently. She helped out tremendously with that in terms of the damage assessment and other things that we were doing as well. She's really, really a blessing, and I'm sure that everyone will be happy to have here, and I'm already happy to have her here. So I just wanted to add that on to the introduction that she just gave. I know some of you may have questions about the storms. The city staff is planning to do a storm update tomorrow night at the city council meeting, which starts at 6 p.m. So you guys could either live stream it or obviously show up and listen in.
Can you repeat the time and the location?
6 p.m.
At where?
6 p.m. right here in the city council chambers.
Thank you.
Tomorrow night. And I just wanted to conclude by saying I'm very happy to see you all here, and I hope that you all and your family had a very uneventful event with the storm.
Thank you, Stuart.
I do have a comment. I don't know whether to ask Noelle or Stuart, but I guess you'll be planning or telling us about the seawalls and what we're going to do about checking all of them and who's going to see all of the condos with what we have to do and who we have to hire to get the seawalls corrected.
That will be a part of our presentation tomorrow night. But what I can advise, and what I've been told by the building department and other agencies that we've been checking with and keeping in touch with, is that if you feel there's an issue with your seawall, get with a state of Florida licensed engineer, a professional engineer and contractor, for them to advise you accordingly and walk you through the permitting process. There are some. I don't want to get too off board, or off track here, but there are some provisions for emergency restoration permits. I don't want to go into too much detail with that, but what I can tell you is that the City of Daytona Beach Shores is not requiring any kind of emergency or any type of beach restoration permits. You will have to get some sort of permit from Volusia County. The DEP has issued an emergency order in which they are not requiring permits for that type of improvement. Again, these are temporary emergency remedies. You would have to still go to Volusia County to go ahead and do that. Volusia County is actually implementing some of the DEP guidelines, but you will need a permit from the DEP. Again, I'm sorry, from the Volusia County. And again, this is only temporary safety emergency type measures. Anything that's permanent has to go to the city, has to go to the DEP, and has to go to Volusia County. And again, if you get a licensed state of Florida professional engineer and contractor, they should be able to advise you accordingly and walk you through that process.
The one thing though, Stuart, I'm thinking is a lot of the board people who are on these condos don't understand what they need to do. Couldn't we send a letter out of some nature to all of the condos so that they get this done right?
The city public safety department, including the city manager himself, have hand-delivered notices to every single high-rise building out there and every single property with a seawall.
That's what I needed to know.
And this was done, I believe it was either Thursday or Friday.
Okay, and they presented it to the...
To whomever was there to let them in. So my guess is that it was a manager or someone on the board. I can't say that categorically, but it was a representative from the condo association.
But have we checked all of the seawalls ourselves?
So again, I don't want to get off tangent, but we have done a preliminary analysis. Ultimately, it's the responsibility of the property owner. I mean, we've done our damage assessment.
We'll get them. Thank you. The
If
other thing.
If I may, I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you still talking about the seawall?
No.
Okay. I do have one more thing. I mentioned, and it's because the people at Surfside call me and tell me there is a bed in units C and D behind Surfside's bar that needs to be demanded to take the beds out of there, that the man comes back after somebody in Daytona Beach Shores tells them about it or whatever. They don't take the bed out, but they tell them that the guy has got to leave, but then he comes back the next night. So he's sleeping there.
Okay, so was it a specific question or a comment?
It's Unit C and D. I'd like something done about.
So we actually have a meeting with the city attorney and
Okay.
the new director of public safety in the building department right after this meeting, probably maybe about 15, 20 minutes after this meeting, and I'll certainly bring that up. I know it's been an ongoing challenge.
Yes, they keep calling me.
But there's only certain actions that the city can take, but I don't want to expound on that at this point,
Okay.
but we will be meeting and I'll be bringing that up.
Thank you so
I
much.
see the city attorney taking a note as well.
I know the owner and, yeah, thank you.
I
I'm
just
done.
want to comment about, I don't know, to thank public, our Public Works area or the police department for putting those cones on the street to kind of direct traffic and let people know that there's going to be parked stationary trucks taking care of the emergency that's going on with the water intrusion and building and construction. I really want to compliment the city for taking action and putting those cones in order to minimize any accidents or problems. So please pass that on to the proper authorities.
I have another comment.
Please.
I'd like to thank you, Stuart, for all of these years you have helped us.
Yes.
You are so wonderful, and he is a great person to learn from, right?
Yeah.
Bar is very high, like he said.
Big knowledge.
We love it.
Thank you so much. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here
That's good.
every second Monday of
That's
the
good.
month
That's
at 8:30
good.
a.m.
Thank you.
Well, having said that, I don't think we can say anything better than that. So at that point, I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry.
While you're sitting there, could you update us on the Treasure Island? I understand that property's for sale.
Oh.
So, I can't speak to that. I have not been advised. Obviously, it's a property, that's being held by a private owner. And so at any point in time, the property owner can, divest of that property as they so choose. Whatever entitlements are there, that has been approved by the city of Daytona Beach Shores, and whatever entitlements are there, and the city attorney can always chime in, those typically run with the land. So you may recall, and again, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it's a bank that currently owns the property. And banks are typically not developers. I know that they have hired some people to help them with development issues, but I don't know necessarily that they will be developing it. I know that they were actively trying to seek a partnership with a developer to do so, but if the property is entirely up for sale at this moment, I am totally unaware of that.
Yeah, it is. What about the bike shop that what was the girl's name that brought the bike shop in here? We approved it a couple months ago. Is she planning on doing something pretty soon?
The bike shop, I have to apologize.
Bike shop where the battery blew up and put them on fire?
Blue Coast.
Yeah.
Blue Coast. Yes, at 3110 South Atlantic Avenue, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yes, their permits have been approved, and it was my understanding that they were going to start with the work rather shortly, but of course we had the hurricane. So my guess is that, like all contractors, they're probably very busy, and so we're hoping to see something moving on that property within the next few months.
Thank you.
There is another thing I wanted to mention. I'm sorry. The people next door to me, Uncle Waldo's Pool Hall, their generator blew up, and he's in intensive care in the Orlando burn unit. So we have to understand that those things can blow. I don't know if it was a gas one. I think it might have been instead of a propane, but I have a picture. He is maybe going to live. It blew up over right next door to me. So I'm meeting my cameraman in a few minutes because their cameras were down, and mine has got to show how that blew up. I just think we need to check a little bit more on the generator systems.
And this was where, I'm sorry?
This is at Uncle Waldo's. I'm at 2500 South Nova Road, and he's at like 2400 next door. It's the bar next door. He had electric Sunday, a week ago. And I had just left my building because it was dark, and he had a generator. So his son was over there with the generator. Generator was on for like a day and a half or whatever, and the son went over to check it.
He'll be able to recover shortly.
He's in the burn unit, he's in intensive care. It's terrible. His whole body is burned.
Well, thank you, everyone, for the meeting. Let's close it on time. Appreciate it. Meeting is adjourned.
Time.